Hi darlings, I'm Amithia, your curator of deliciously dark pages. And I'm here today with a reading wrap up for the last 2 months. I'm here with all of the books I actually didn't finish reading, which is kind of why I took a break. Yeah, you see, I began reading so many books, and I just finished like 3. So I figured I'd walk you through all of the books I didn't finish reading. So if you feel like a longer style of video that's kind of meandering, kind of storytelling, feel free to get comfy, grab a warm, cozy drink or a cool drink because it's summer now, somehow, in some areas of the world anyway, and join me. We are going to start with the physical books at first because I just prefer tangible media. So, for the past couple months, I have been working on this beautiful sleeve of a tattoo. And while sitting there, getting tattooed, telling stories and singing and having a wonderful time, I decided to finally indulge in the Haunting Adeline graphic audio. And what a delight! It's been a beautiful way to reacquaint myself with the story, get to grips with the narrative, and enjoy something that's almost as detailed as my very own personal script in my head. So, I personally have the OG paperback Haunting Adelines in my own personal library, and I kind of found for me that H.G. Carlton may have finished her summer in my personal library. But before I get into the details of everything, for those of you who don't know, because you've been living under a dark romance rock, perhaps. That was shady. I apologize. What I mean is, Haunting Adeline is incredibly popular in the dark romance space, and maybe for good reason. Read it and find out. But let me tell you what it's about. So, Haunting Adeline follows Zaid and Adeline. So, Adeline is an author who's been called back to live in a glorious Gothic manor. Now, Adeline has a fear kink, and how freaking convenient, frankly, because she becomes embroiled in all kinds of scary shenanigans. She acquires a stalker, for one, who she slowly falls in love with across the book. And she ends up becoming embroiled in more and more and more danger. And who knows how much of that danger is from her stalker and how much of that danger is from unforeseen forces throughout the town. Throughout the book, we kind of have this psychological retelling of tragedies that happened to her ancestors, previous women in her bloodline, who also happened to fall in love with her stalker. And we also have the fraught relationship between her and her mother. And so she's getting details of her family lineage from different sources, from the crime report of the actual murder of her grandma, and she's getting it from her mother, who had a strained relationship with her mother and grandmother. And so this whole time we're reading the book, we're trying to solve the murder of Gigi, we're trying to figure out who is after Adeline, we're trying to figure out the other mysterious forces in the book who are hunting Adeline for what reason. And also, it's all set amidst the beautiful Parsons Manor, which is a Gothic creature's dream that's haunted. And it's never really explained, it just is, which is just a lovely detail to enjoy throughout the book, as you just get these apparitions throughout the story. And since I have noticed as well, so the reason I actually let myself indulge in the graphic audiobook is because H.D. Carlton shared that she's rewritten parts of Haunting and Haunting Adeline and just done minor edits to improve upon the cohesiveness of the story. And I think if you have read Phantom, which is technically a prequel in the story, once you reread or re-listen to H.D. Carlton with the edits, you do get a richer storyline once you've read Phantom. And it's been a beautiful experience. So although I have found that H.D. Carlton's writing is nowadays a little too simple for my taste, because I'm reading much more richly within the Gothic genre and for different reasons nowadays, I don't think I'll revisit H.D. Carlton as an author for me, but I've very much enjoyed revisiting Haunting Adeline. And I will be continuing to explore the graphic audio as I get more tattoos added to my beautiful canvas of a body. So I will bring you along for the ride as we review. But that is Haunting Adeline. Okay, next. Nicole Fiorina has, once again, been owning my heart and ripping it apart. And I thank her for it, frankly. So, if you have been following me on Instagram or heard any of my previous videos, you will have heard from me that Nicole Fiorina released Call Me Baby, which is gorgeous. Firstly, can we just, I'm not one for foiling, but this is gorgeous and so tasteful and draws attention to where attention needs to be laid. Like, oh, beautiful. It might be that it's musically decorated, but what can I say? I am a cliche. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is Call Me Baby by Nicole Fiorina is a new release, and it's beautiful and poetic and purple prose, as much as that term is meant to be derogative, but I don't think it is, because everything I've read that is of that vein is just beautiful and descriptive and mirrors the intensity of life. But anyway, so Call Me Baby. I am not going to do a good job of telling you what it's about, okay? Because I have been reading this book for 2 months now, and I am 118 pages in, because it continues to rip my heart out. A little while ago, I posted on Instagram that I was 3 chapters in, 5 chapters in, and it was ripping my heart out. I was literally 3 chapters in, but I thought I was so much further because of the emotional impact this book is having on me. And I can't even tell you what it's about, because I thought it was going to be a fluffy romance between a music producer, cold-hearted ice queen, and a roguish golden retriever guy, you know, breaking down her defenses and giving her the night of her dreams and proving to her that, you know, she's worth all of the things she said no to in the past, and breaking down her icy defenses, only to have Nicole Fiorina herself release a infograph rating the insanity of all her male heroes, and to find that the male hero in this book is the most psychotic of all her heroes. So now I have no idea what I've signed up for, but I can't turn away. But I'm also not emotionally ready to pick up this book again. So, apologies for the lack of clarity with this book, but I still encourage you to read it. Nicole Fiorina for me is a ride or die author. It's not a secret. It was literally the first video I uploaded on YouTube. If I ever do, by the way, a first video to now, reflect and review thing on YouTube, oh my goddess, that's gonna be cringy and mostly cute, but a little cringy. But also Nicole Fiorina, you know, if I was gonna start anywhere, of course I was. But anyway, oh my goddess. So I don't know what to tell you about this book other than the depth of these characters and the amount of poetry in this book, and the way that everybody is a raw end, and it's therapy. This book needs therapy, and it is therapy, and I don't know what's going to happen, or but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And I can tell you there's themes of reclaiming sexuality, and apart from that, who knows? So I will continue it. It's clearly going to be the slowest thing I ever read, but also side B is coming out at some point, and I have already pre-ordered it. So when that box arrives, I will share it with you. Who knows if I'll have finished this by then. But anyway, that concludes the physical reads of May. Okay, so no April. Apologies, April. So, no, it doesn't. I'm a liar. Because the other book, oh, April, no wonder I read so little in April, because all the books ripped me to pieces. Books ripped me to pieces. The other book I began reading in May, can you hear the trepidation? Because it's still ripping me to pieces, is Immortal Dark by Tigest Gama. Oh my. Oh my. Okay, so this is a dark academia vampire vengeance romance, is what I'm going to name it as. It follows Kidden and Yos, although I can't call him that because I'm not his friend. Oh, 1 second, I need to emotionally recover. Okay, I can do this. So, it follows Kidden, who is somebody who refuses to be kind to a world that has only been cruel to her. And she is whisked away to an academy that couples humans up with vampires and bequeaths them with ancient knowledge. And she's only on a quest. The only reason she is still alive is to find her sister, who she believes has been kidnapped. And so she's embroiled into a world of secrets and vengeance and death. But she is not in a good place mentally, and she's spiraling, and she's alive out of spite, and she loves so fiercely and in such a consuming with teeth, and Yos finds her, and she is a heiress to a house of magic and secrets, and Yos wants that house for his own reasons. and there ensues a battle of wills, essentially, to get access to this house, and so much more. And this book is so much more, and it inverts your expectations with every other line. And I could write a thesis on this book at this point, because you may have noticed there's a pen inside, because I have annotated this book to pieces, and and the amount of times this book has made me cry, the amount of times this book has made me gasp. I have read this book at work, and I cried at work. I gasped. I pushed it away from me, and this book has made me lose my senses. And yet the found family, and yet the way it inverts expectations over and over and over again, and also obviously the representation, because did I not mention it's based within African mythology. Like, the characters are people of Black heritage. Everybody is filled with depth, have such infatuation with life and loyalty. Oh, this book. And I haven't even finished yet. I low-key refused. I'm on page 472 out of 489, and I low-key refused because I thought this was an only book, but it's a trilogy, and the second book is on its way for me. But the way I can write a thesis on this book at this point, and I just adore it. It's becoming one of my favorite books of all time. And every single character is flawed. Every single character has such an immense backstory and front story, and yeah. So I have such admiration for her. Such admiration. Over on Instagram, I've posted multiple posts about this book. One of them included a nudge towards a video of Tajest herself talking about the world of the book and why she wrote it. And I highly encourage everybody to go and just check out that little short clip, because it really speaks on her mentality of writing the book and why it's important. She got the specific voices across. And she just does it best. She's the author, you know. She knows why she wrote what she wrote. And everything is done so well. So well. Just go into this book, obviously. Do your research, because it's gothic. It's such the truest form of gothic. I know there's such gravity to my voice, but it's because I'm so passionate. It's so passionate. Like, this is, to me, one of the great books of, honestly, this generation, which I know is such a lofty statement, but like, I don't say it lightly. My standards are so high, and so for this book to get anywhere close, never mind surpass them, is wild. I haven't felt this way about a book since The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde back when I was 13. Yeah, nothing has surpassed that book for me until this. So, well done. Well done. And I'm so, so excited to keep exploring African mythology, to keep exploring old vampires, to keep exploring even the language used and the way people look at the connectivity of the world, but even how, like, relationships are forged and loyalty is forged and connection is forged, legacy, and it's just phrased differently. And I can't explain it, and I need to read more so that I can. But like, nothing in this book is taken lightly. And that's not to say that it's heavy and driven down and dogmatic or preachy or anything like that, but like, every action and description and is thought through by somebody so deeply. Even if it's an impulsive action by somebody in the book, it's thought through by somebody, or it's the consequence of like 12 actions by somebody else in the book somewhere else, or whatever. Like, there's such an interconnectivity of everybody, whether it's from the past or the present or the somebody else somewhere else in the story or whatever. Like, I'm so touched by the connectivity of everything, because it's something that's rarely touched on in the media I've come across before. But it's an idea that is really close to my heart as a pagan person, is that every action has consequences, is that everything in the world is connected, but that's so rarely touched on in Western media. The actual reality of everything is connected. But in this book, it truly is lived and thought on and acted on, but in the vampiric sense of across time and across legacy and across loyalties, and you know, and so well done. Right, okay. But the Immortal Dark is beautiful and worth it, and I can't wait to continue it, and I will finish it, I promise. I'm gonna be brave. But for now, moving on. Okay, so next, I tried to enter my sweet era of reading. So I'm entering an era of reading where I'm trying to introduce sweet topics, sweet themes, sweet books, sweet literature, sweet media into my life, partially because of the state of the world right now, partially because my nervous system deserves to expect joy, to encourage joy, to know that joy is accessible. And I think reading is one thing I have control over, one way I can like teach myself I have access to joy, right? See it as something not to question, see it as something familiar, right? And so I did that by picking up Kennedy Ryan's Flow, which, if you don't know, Grip follows Bristol and Grip, who are an interracial couple. And Grip is a rapper and Bristol is a musician who has big dreams of becoming a music producer one day. And they kind of are thrown into 1,000 situations where it's really easy for them to judge each other. And instead, they admit that predisposition and hash it out and like meet each other in that place of curiosity and openness and connect, and their chemistry is undeniable. I met them in Flow, which is the little novella, and their chemistry was undeniable, and I was caught, and I picked it up and I really enjoyed it, and I found it fluffy, feel good. It was so easy to get caught up in them and how good they were together and how well they fit together. And I was a bit put off by the ending because it felt a bit drama-like for drama's sake, and it did put me off, and I did struggle to pick it back up again. But then towards the end of May, I chose to pick up the next book, but that's a little spoiler. I guess not. We'll just talk about it next. So Grip again follows them and follows their story after the aftermath of the ending of Flow, where the drama happened. In that, Grip becomes a fully fledged rapper. Bristol becomes a fully fledged music producer. And it kind of follows their avoidant for different reasons, on again, off again connection, where they haven't said yes to their connection for different reasons. They've been avoiding it because of their own baggage for different reasons. And it's honestly painful to see them not be together when they're so right for each other, when they both want it so badly, when they'd be so good together, when they fit so well. And it's so painful to see them not be together and see the consequences of that and see how much pain it causes them. But I could not put it down for like 65% of the book until I had to put it down because it was too painful to see them not together, actually. And also, although Grip is fluffy in the sense that when they're good together, when they are together in the same room and they let themselves connect, they're so right for each other. The chemistry is perfect. They nurture each other's curiosity and root for each other so fully. And it's beautiful, and the trust is built, and they complement each other so well, and the attraction is off the charts, and so on and so forth. It's beautiful. But then with the themes of an interracial couple and all of the social complexity of that, the book understandably gets heavy, as it should, but is also handled sensitively and so on and so forth. But like, that meant for my nervous system, it was not a calm experience, because then it brings in the social issues of reality, right? Which we need to be aware of and learn about and all of that kind of stuff. But for the purpose of what I needed the book to do, it wasn't serving that kind of softness purpose. So it also got me thinking about, with my love, if I weren't with him, what would I do? How would I cope with that? And how long would I hold on if we weren't together? And so it was all just very upsetting, actually. And so I decided to put it down. And I don't know when I'll come back to it, because it's just upsetting to see them not together, and upsetting to consider like the very real traumatic repercussions of what it's like, the realities of living as a Black person in the US and the trauma of that. Now, I already, in the work I do in everyday life, support people to deal with the hardships of life in many different ways in the work I do. So picking up books that deal with those kind of topics in my leisure time isn't super restful, isn't something that I can maintain for long periods of time. So for me, I've chosen to put Grip down for a little bit, and it's something that I want to pick up again, that I want to give time to again as a way of learning and as a way of just making sure my mind stays open and aware. I don't want to let something be hard and just put it down because it's hard. I think it's important to be challenged, but it's important to stay safe, right? So I'm going to pick up Grip again when I'm emotionally ready to, and when I can put like some safeguards in place to keep me emotionally well afterwards. So maybe I'll dip in for a chapter and then do something pleasant afterwards, right? And that way I can continue the story, maybe get closure on that story, and then also learn about the background and open my mind and learn about that reality to a deeper level, right? But just as an FYI, if you ever are reading a story that's not your experience, to kind of broaden your viewpoint in the world or gain an insight, and it's painful or it's challenging or it's too upsetting for you in that moment, remember there are different ways to learn. So you could speak to somebody who has that experience, who you trust and you have a good relationship with. You could seek out music that speaks about it. You could seek out TV shows that depict it in a respectful and accurate way, right? You could read about it in a different way. If you don't want a memoir, something with lots of action, perhaps you could go and look at comedy shows instead and kind of get perspectives that way, right? Remember that there are many, many different ways to inform yourself about these things, but the most important thing, right, is that you can protect your energy along the way, because there's no point engaging with something and getting hurt and never being able to return, because then we can't fight for freedom or equality or compassion or the actions that we all need to take to make the world a kinder, free place, right? So enough on that, but just take care of yourselves out there, especially right now. The next book I read, speaking of horror, was my whole camera stand died, so we're gonna retry. Okay, so the next book I read was You Did Nothing Wrong by C.J. Drews. Now, the astute people in the audience will notice there's a pen inside. Again, because I'm currently annotating this for my best friend for her birthday. Now, let me tell you why, because it's perfect for her. This book follows a haunted house, a mother of an autistic child who is also pregnant, and her new fiance, who she just met like 3 months ago. And they've moved into this haunted house to renovate, but lo and behold, the house might be alive and it might be trying to eat her son. We honestly don't know if she's going insane or if the child with autism knows what's going on and the rest of the adults are catching the hell up. And it kind of follows this maybe toxic, messy love triangle thing where you don't know who the hell is a reliable narrator. If anybody is, I personally trust the child the most out of everybody, because children know best, okay? But the way CJ Drews writes, I'm in love, like, it's probably, is it too soon to tell? But CJ Drews' style is so evocative. They communicate so much in a sentence. Like, there's a description of Ella's hair that's described as like bitter dark chocolate, and it just describes her whole relationship with herself over the past like 5 years or something through a description of her hair in a sentence. And if you weren't paying attention, you would have missed it. And I love that kind of writing. And so it's so beautiful, so beautiful. And so it's just got so many beautiful themes, and I love it. And so this book has literally turned me into an English lit student again. Like, I'm underlining, I'm noting themes, I'm like circling things and like trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and like noticing repeated themes and repeated words and like noticing imagery and all these beautiful things. And I'm purposefully refusing to underline specific horror scenes to not get in the way of the atmosphere, but it's so hard. So I've just decided at this point, after I've finished annotating it for my friends, I'm going to buy myself another copy and I'm going to annotate it for myself with all of the notes about the beautiful, beautiful, descriptive, gothic, gorgeous, mesmerizing writing style that CJ Drews possesses. And CJ Drews has a new book releasing that's like an Eldritch Sea God horror that's like, I think, an MMYA romance, and I'm in. If this is the base for the writing style, I'm in. So I'm not sure when it's releasing, but I'm just so in. So I'm so excited to have found CJ Drews. And again, you may have noticed on my Instagram, I recently realized that CJ Drews is the writer of Who Let the Forest In, and that's a book I've been meaning to read for like a year or something. And so now I know that CJ Drews is the writer. I'm in. Again, when am I going to get to this? Because I'm currently reading like 8 books, as you'll figure out soon. But like, I'm now committed to reading it. I'm going to get there. So join me. Thank you so much. Okay, next. Oh, I'm currently reading The God and the Grison by Sophie Kim. This is the definition of feel good to me. You know how I mentioned earlier that I'm trying to develop a soft reading umbrella for myself, right? A soft category for myself. This might be the niche. This might be the niche, because this is action adventure style Korean folktale in a modern setting. What's it called? Paranormal urban fantasy kind of vibe. And it's like a reincarnated love tale kind of vibe with fated love kind of vibe. So let me tell you what it's about. In this story, we're following Sokka and Kissa. Sokka is a trickster god. Kissa is currently a dead cruise ship sickbay person. And they have a mystery to solve because the emperor of all of the universe has been murdered. Dun, dun, dun! And there's so much action and adventure and intrigue. Because again, Sophie Kim as a writer, or if you're not paying attention, you will miss the complicated relationships between everybody. You will miss the character development between everybody. But also, Sophie Kim writes in a way where the writing style reflects exactly what the character is going through. As soon as Sokka gets irritable and sarcastic, so does the writing style. As soon as somebody gets panicked, the writing style reflects it. As soon as somebody gets uncertain or passionate or frazzled, the writing style reflects it with like the sentence structure and so on and so forth. It's beautiful. It's so immersive in that way, and it's beautiful, but it's so feel good because Sophie Kim has a way of communicating the depth of an experience without dragging you into the mud of it. It's really beautiful, and she teaches so well about Korean folk tales. I don't know much about the Korean pantheon at all. Sophie Kim is my introduction to this world, and I read already The God and the Gomaho, which inspired the whole soft read adventure that I'm currently going on. And I think she's my sweet spot because these stories are action adventure. There's a save the world kind of plot in some way, but it's also feel good and uplifting and hopeful and cheerful, but it's also got depth and character development, and it's also subversive in that nobody is what meets the eye. There's so much character depth, there's so much going on, there's so many different puzzling pieces going on, there's usually a puzzle to solve, and the characters set out to do one thing. All these guys were meant to do was go on vacation, and instead they're saving the world, right? And those are the kind of themes in these books, and they're such a beautiful good time, and I'm so happy to be spending time with these characters again, as you can tell by the speed I'm speaking, so I'm going to try and slow down. But I'm so happy to be in this world again, and I find these books so rereadable. I'm so excited to read them again. I'm halfway through this book. I started reading it, I think, a week ago, and already I want to reread them both. So, thank you, Sophie Kim. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you write. Okay, next. Oh, I read Come Away With Me by Kristen Proby. Reminder, when I say I read, I mean I'm reading. I've finished none of these books. Just to hold myself accountable. So, Come Away With Me is a recommendation from my love. It's a fluffy, soft book about a photographer and oh, I can't tell you that, that's a spoiler. We're going to try again. Come Away With Me is a soft, fluffy romance between a photographer and a guy who doesn't like getting his photo taken. And I can't tell you much more than that right now because it's a spoiler. But let me tell you, this romance is built on building trust. It's built on deep backstories in that sense, and one good time after another. And so if you want a sweet read that's built on trust and deep relationships, this is that read. It's one sweet scene after another. And that's it. That's all this book is. And in that sense, it ticks the box of a sweet read. However, I'm bored. I'm bored because it's just one sweet scene after another. There's actually not that much going on. There's not many puzzle pieces. And the spicy scenes last 2 seconds. And if all the spicy scenes for the rest of their relationship last 2 seconds, then I hope they go to an intimacy coach, because what the heck? What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? Also, they've been together for 2 months at this point, light spoiler ahead, and there's talk of marriage. What? What in the monogamous hellscape is this? And what? So this has been a quite an interesting trip, but I did learn some stuff about what I might like in a sweet romance. I learned that I adore adoration. I learned that trust is really important to me. I learned that communication and the intimacy of knowing somebody is really, really important to me. I learned that I enjoy lots and lots of sweet scenes. I learned that I really do need lots of puzzle pieces to be happening though. So I wonder if my sweet reads are going to be gearing more towards the action adventure side of things with lots of puzzling pieces, right? So if you guys have any recommendations for sweet action adventure kind of books, or maybe more on the spicy side of things, spicy books with lots and lots of adoration and not a hint of the opposite, feel free to pop them below and I will give them a try. Thank you so much. Okay, that's that. And then lastly, okay, so a little while ago, and I might do a post about this just to kind of confirm the intention even more, but a little while ago I might have mentioned that I'm going through the Practical Magic series in book form so that I'm continuously always reading a story with witches in it, because represent, right? So I'm currently on the second book in the Practical Magic series, The Rules of Magic, which is here somewhere, The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. And this follows Jet and Franny. Yes, haha, yes. So Jet and Franny, which, if you know the movie Practical Magic, they're the two aunts, Jet and Franny. So this follows them growing up, learning to become witches, and all of the beautiful things they get up to and the drama they get up to and all the things. And as always with Alice Hoffman, the writing is incredibly whimsical. It's incredibly human and raw, and there's harsh lessons and there's soft lessons. I say harsh, it's whimsical writing. And yet it's so very human, but all of the writing is so very character driven and true to the characters. So there's so much to learn in these books. There's also accurate witchcraft inside, and the power of intention setting, the power of how much our intentions and our perceptions and the beliefs we sow set reality. That's such a strong theme in her work. So I intensely enjoy these books. Now I'm currently a third of the way through, because it does take me time, because I'm reading these books partially to study, in the sense that I kind of pick up these books as modern day fables to me, and it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time. So I'm just going to be reading these for as long as it takes, and rereading them. And I think when I reread them, I may annotate them at that point. But for now, I'm having a wonderful time, and I'm really, really happy to be spending time with Jet and Franny, because I've always wanted to know more about the aunts. And so if you too enjoy the movie Practical Magic, which by the way is getting a second movie, who would have thought? I didn't think that was going to happen. Definitely not in my lifetime. Anyway, second movie. This is their book. So if you want to know how they came to be as badass, as beautiful, as inspiring as they are, this is how they came to be. This is the blueprint for their characters. So, The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. Okay, and with that, and all the chaos, those are all the books I'm currently reading, and I think 2 books I actually completed. So, April and May have been very, very chaotic reading-wise, incredibly chaotic, because I've been on a journey of attempting to find sweet books, of exploring vampiric mythology, like old vampiric mythology, because I'm just bored with surface-level vampiric capitalist hellscapes, and I want something older. I want something connected. I want something that respects the earth and every living being in it, right? And so I'm looking into older mythologies because they honor life and hold life as sacred. Anyway, got a bit preachy there, apologies. And I'm so enjoying exploring Korean folklore with Sophie Kim in the feel-good fashion. I sincerely hope I let myself dive into Sophie Kim's world more often, because it honestly feels like a warm hug. It feels like catching up with old friends. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. So with that, I will leave you to your summer days. Here, it has been summer storming and being beautiful, and so there have been many, many adventures. Now, I'm curious though, what do you feel like reading in summer? Because clearly for me, it's sweet things and adventure stories. So pop your favorite summer reads below, and maybe inspire some sweetness my way. Okay, and with that, my darlings, I will wish you sweet reading.